Hello guys, welcome back, and I'm in lockdown number 6, so today I thought I'd just do a little video, do a few things, try to keep myself entertained, hopefully entertain you slightly along the way. So far I've been going back through old friend books. This was one that I always loved, and because we all loved going to Tuscany, didn't we? Back when we could. And this is just a little memory moment. But it's also got good food in it, which is sort of a thing I've been doing. It's here making my meal plan for the week, which is not exactly exciting, but has to be done, because otherwise I'll get to the end of the day and I'll have had sort of random things, like I'll have snacked on whatever was in the refrigerator, I'll have had a banana, a couple of cups of coffee, which I do need again now, and I'll end up having breakfast for dinner again, so no. I'm not that bad, but it is awfully easy just to make eggs of some version when you just don't want to think about it. So I've been trying to think about it, and I've got some nice things on here, including something I'm just going to make for lunch, a chickpea salad, because I have everything already here, which is a good start. I also have a much neglected shopping list that I've just found, and yeah, some of that's quite interesting too. I'll add whatever I need to that, cross off a few things I've got. What else? Oh yes, been making a list. I love my lists. This is things to do in lockdown. I've got make beeswax wraps, learn calligraphy, order a colouring book. I've done that. I've just ordered one. It won't be here for a day or two, but maybe I can print out something from the internet to colour in while I'm, adult colouring. And I don't mean adult, I just mean not necessarily bunny rabbits and chickens. What else? Maybe a paint by numbers, but I haven't seen any that I like, so that one I'll have to do a bit more investigation into that. Just anything, because my brain's not working. This is called lockdown brain. It really is a thing. It's like, I don't know, some people find lockdown really a time of inspiration and creativity and all of those things. My brain just goes completely, it goes frozen. It's like deer in the headlights brain, So what else have I got? I use the colouring book thing. Speaking of which, I've written it down twice on a list that has 6 things. You see? Lockdown brain, deer in the headlights. I have actually written that down twice. Order a colouring book and buy a colouring book. See, slightly different phraseology, but that's it. So we'll cross one of those off and cross off the ordered one. Sort bookcases and find old friends. And I think that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. But first I'm going to make myself some lunch and a coffee to help my poor brain. It's pretty sad when you write a list that's this long and you manage to put the same thing down twice. But having said that, I have got a meal plan. Well, I've got a list of meals from which I can choose on any day and remember how to make them. Let's go make some lunch. Okay, so I was busy telling you how to make my little salad, and then I realised I hadn't pressed record, which is all a bit silly. See, as I said, lockdown brain. Not to worry, it's not exactly complex. It's about half a tin of drained and then rinsed well and drained again chickpeas. It's some curly parsley just chopped up, an avocado, half an avocado, a small slice of feta crumbled all over the top, and some spring onions, and I'm just going to squeeze, whoops, it's going everywhere, literally, big slice of lemon all over the thing, the top of it. There we go. Time to wash my hands. A bit of salt. I don't think I want pepper on that. And I've gone back to keeping a jug of water on the bench so it's room temperature. Make sure that I keep drinking water, because one of the things I sort of forget to do in lockdown. Anyway, that jug, I realised I didn't have one that was just sort of a nice everyday jug, and I got it from TJ Maxx, which is what TK Maxx is called in Australia and the UK. But yeah, it was all of $10 or $12. I thought that was rather nice. It's Polish handmade Polish glass. So yeah, that was a good score, I thought. And yes, it makes it just reminds me to keep drinking water. I'm going to have my lunch. It's alright, I won't eat and make you watch. Well, you might turn off if I did. It's just one of my things. I'm not very good at watching people eat. And yeah, so what have I been doing? Well, I've watched so far, I think most of the whole series of Brothers and Sisters. All right, I skipped to the end. I got a wee bit sick of it after a while. So I think I skipped some of the 4th and 5th season. But anyway, saw the end. And I think I'd watched it all before, but, you know, it's something I hadn't seen for ages. I've been, you know, chatting to friends who are also in lockdown, and that sort of helps to keep us all sane. Is it really that it? I sorted and tidied and cleaned my little TV room. Wow, that was... Actually, it could have been embarrassing. I was going to film it for you while I was doing it. I'm sort of glad I didn't because, God, I mean, it looked, you know, superficially, it was perfectly clean and tidy. But once you take books out and you go behind things and you lift things out and you, oh dear, and you realise, no, it wasn't actually, it was really, really dusty. So yeah, that's all nice and clean again now. That's a good start. And I hauled out a whole pile of books that I will offer to other homes before I donate them. I never feel so bad about donating good books because I think, well, they're going to get picked up by somebody. I have a real problem with that whole sort of let's fill 25 bags and take them to the donation centre. I sort of think maybe we should deal with our own discards in a more responsible way because donation is kind of responsible. Selling, I think, is actually probably better because people have to really want them, and you learn in a big hurry what the market value of anything you have is or isn't, more to the point. But there's something about just moving on, you know, our own sort of terrible buying habits, whatever, and pretending that as soon as it's out the door that it's disappeared. Tell me what you think about this. I know the concept is great, and for years it was really good, but there seems to be such an oversupply of clothes, women's clothes in particular. So I think, you know, reusing clothes, buying from charity shops, all of those things, donation centres, whatever we want to call them, I think that is a really good idea. But even that's not going to deal with the massive oversupply of clothes. And I was walking around, you know, this was pre-lockdown when, you know, we actually had 5 days or whatever it was when we weren't locked down again. And I was walking through a mall and I realised there was something like 8 women's clothing stores. I know, just in a row almost. And they each catered for a slightly different sort of demographic or style or whatever you want to say. And they ranged from, you know, the cheaper end right through to some quite expensive items. I thought, seriously? I think we really have to sort of come to terms with this, and as a country, not just individually, but as countries and globally, we've got this huge oversupply. And, you know, well, on one hand you think, yes, then if we shut down all the factories in China and in Bangladesh and places around the world, what are those people, usually women, how are they going to earn a living? Anyway, that's my little take on that. I'm going to have my lunch and probably find something to watch while I do it. Well, I've just had a chat with a friend. When we're all in lockdown, we actually ring each other as opposed to texting hello, which is kind of nice. But I was just going to show you that I did tidy up my little TV room the other day. Sorted out. So there's a lot of books gone from here. I'll show you in a minute. And, you know, just sort of tidied up, really, I suppose. That, you know, and I did take quite a few out, which is, you know, it's good. It's sort of a little bit more open now than it was. TV dominates completely, of course. But that's okay, that's what I come in here to do. I come in here to watch TV. But when this TV dies, eventually I will get a smaller one. Because I simply don't need one this big. And this is the pile of books that will be going off to another home somewhere, not quite sure where. Some of them belong to my son, and some he'll probably claim as well, especially the gardening ones, I suspect. And then there'll be a few that can go off to, you know, to either to friends or to donation. What I do now is have a quick look through this bookshelf. Sorry, I'm making room to actually see it. So this bookshelf is sort of where It's a double-sided one, so that I've got things here that, well, I thought since I'm in lockdown I should, rather than buy any new books, I should go back to some old family friends. Though actually there are a couple I haven't read. Like I haven't read Last Orders. That's one that can come out. Anybody love Joan Didion? Though it's worth it. This is interesting. The Mummies of Urumqi. When they're talking about the Uyghur people in China, this is where the Uyghurs come from. And this child was buried 4,000 years ago with its little woolly hat and lapis lazuli, the stone on his eyes, and all wrapped up to keep him warm. 4,000 years ago in that part of the world. A couple of common Thuberons. Some David Sedaris, which is always funny. Toto-chan. I haven't read Toto-chan for ages. I'll read that. And this is The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, which is just lovely. I'll pop that in the front. Okay, so there we are. I've got 2 books out to read. Are there any I can get rid of? Oh, maybe. I'll have a quick look through. I mean, these are the sorts of ones that I let go. I'm not going to reread. Here we go. The Amy Tan that I have never read. Now that's, looks like I started it but didn't ever really get into it. There we are. 3 that have come out and 1 that can go. Well, I've just mended my camera because the back came loose and I cannibalised a tiny screw off an old pair of glasses. And that repaired it. But now I just want to pop these cyclamen into these pots so that they can then fit down and or they just balance sort of on the top of the ones at the entry. And even though I'm the only person going in and out these days because we're not allowed people in our homes, it's still nice if there's something cheerful at the front door. The little cyclamen are tucked up out here. That looks prettier. Well, it's actually the next day because I didn't sign off in the end. I had a phone call and a lovely chat with a friend, but I thought I'd just come on, tell you what I did last night, what I read. Well, I didn't read it because, it was actually an Audible book, but here we go. This, The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. It's a really good book. It's not earth-shattering, but it's really, it's a good yarn. Kept me interested the whole way through. Yeah, I kind of guessed the plot, but that's all right. When you've been around for a while and you've read a lot, you do tend to guess the plots, but it didn't make it any less satisfying. I think in the end it was a good yarn. It's a Reese Witherspoon book club choice, and her production company is making it into a movie, and I think it's going to star Julia Roberts, who would be amazing and really good in the role. But yes, it's a good read. So The Last Thing He Told Me, that's got, it's got a sort of a 4.5 star entertainment rating. I think it's my rating on it. We'll give it a DD rating of 4.5 for entertainment, not for deep thought, but for entertainment. What else? And the friend I was talking to, she's at that stage of wanting to downsize and she's completely overwhelmed. And that's fair, but we were talking about it to try and sort of find out where it is that she wants to be, not in terms of location, but in terms of her things and what's sort of holding her back. And I think she got caught in that, well, she's got adult daughters and they're sort of all like, minimalism is the thing, Mum. And I'm going, no, actually I think that was last year's thing. But anyway, you don't do things, a trend when you're talking about your own home. It has to be whatever's right for you. And I think also that there's a real confusion between decluttering, which is just reducing, or not just, but is reducing the number of things you have and tidying up and organising. What we used to call a really good clear out, and we'd do it, spring, autumn, a couple of good clear outs a year and the house would stay pretty tidy and organised. So there's a difference between that decluttering and downsizing, because downsizing is when you're going into a smaller home and you are having to choose the things that are in your home and have been part of your home for many, many years often, and choosing the ones that you need and want to come with you into that smaller home that will still give you the feeling of a home that's right for you, whatever level of belongings that means. It may mean that you want it to look pretty much the same but just on a smaller scale, or it may mean that you want to redecorate. Heck, you might want to start again and get new furniture and a whole different way of designing your home, of decorating it. You may even want a full-scale renovation so that it's a completely different sort of home. All of those things come into downsizing. It's a much, much more complex thing than simply, and I know that there's nothing simple about some decluttering projects, but compared with shedding the belongings of a lifetime that you don't really want to get rid of, that you'd be perfectly happy holding on to if you had decided to stay in a larger home. But if you move to a smaller one, then you just have to make some of those decisions, and they can be really hard. So she's got it down in her book. She's got a DD book. Several friends of mine have DD books, and she is just writing down something to do every day. She's going to take out one thing every day, which I thought was quite a good idea. That she's not up to the one thing on the first of the month and two things on the second and three things on the third. I think that's too much to ask. And she knows that it's not going to work for her. So she said, no, if I just do one thing a day, and if she can get her husband to do one thing a day, then that will be an extra win. But she's not going to worry too much about that. That's his business. She'll suggest it, but she's going to concentrate on her things, and she's going to do one thing a day. And so she said, well, by the end of the month, I will, end of this, August, I'll have probably 20-25 things that I've got rid of, and I'll keep going. And so right through, even through to the end of the year, through to Christmas, she said, I've got rid of quite a few things. And I said, so I think that's a great idea. There's no time pressure for her. It's just something that she knows that they'll be doing in the future. So she's going to get started and deal with that feeling of overwhelm. And as I said to her, don't underestimate the power of that one thing a day, because downsizing, the decluttering, it's not even the right word, it's like depossessing. Get rid of your possessions. It's something that is very overwhelming to start with, but you get better and better at it as you go along. Honestly, it's like a muscle. The more you use that muscle, the stronger it gets, and you start to realize that it's not as overwhelming. It doesn't produce the anxiety that perhaps it did in the beginning, and you just start to see things and you think, oh, I really don't need that. I haven't used that, don't really want it. It's just a habit. I'm just in the habit of looking at it, and it's not something I really value in any particular way. And there are lots of things in our homes that are probably like that we, for some of us anyway, that we can just get rid of. I'm down to not too many of those things because I've been doing this for a long time now. And that's the other thing, it's not a once and done. You do a full sort of sweep to start your downsizing, and then once you've decided where you're going to go or that you're going to sell, then you do it again so that the house is ready to sell, and then you do it again when you move into a smaller place, and then you probably do it 2 or 3 times in the first year, and you just keep being able to do it. So that's, it's just a way to start. I'd love to hear what you think, actually, and how many of you have done it, and what are your techniques. And I know that a lot have done it in big tasks, big projects where they've gone room to room or area to area. But if you've had time to think about it, to get sort of organised before you make any major decisions about destinations, then how have you gone about it? I'd love to hear. Anyway, I'll be back with more, so please subscribe. Give my little channel a thumbs up. It really helps my little baby channel on YouTube. YouTube notices these things, so give me a wave out, leave me a comment. I always love to hear from you all, that. And yes, so we're all, here am I, yet another day of lockdown, and the numbers are coming down. So there is light at the end of the tunnel for us here in Victoria. Keep Sydney in your thoughts and prayers, because boy, they need it. They're in trouble up there. It's not on the same scale. We have relatively very little virus in Australia, but we have very poor vaccination, and it's coming along, but it's very slow. So yes, it's lots of different things happening in different parts of the country. So, but here today it's a lovely spring day and the numbers are down, and that's good. So I hope that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're having a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.